Hello again. I'm Jessica.
I'm TH, and we are
The
the
X
X
Experts.
Experts. What does that mean to be an X Expert?
We are here to help you get through your divorce process in the way that works best for you and your family, and even beyond divorce, when you don't have your divorce team with you anymore and then you're trying to figure out how to move forward in your life. That's what we are here to help you do, help guide you. We've been through it. We've lived it, so we get it.
Yep.
And our whole mission is to help educate and empower you to get through it in the best way possible.
We're sharing some of our least favorite things because of divorce. So these are just things for you to think about as you're going through the process. Maybe you can avoid them or be aware of them and do something about it. Our divorce stories, if you haven't heard them, listen to our very first episode or go to xexperts.com and click on Kat and Nat from our appearance with them so you can hear our stories, so you understand where we're coming from with all of this. But our stories are our stories, but they don't define us. They have literally empowered us to create X Experts for you. Right. So let's start with our least favorite things about divorce. So we're right there with you, okay? I would say my number one thing is my kids. I felt like shit for my kids. I wanted to, we do so much to make our kids' lives so great and shelter them and make it all, as much of rainbows and unicorns that we can. And it was just not. It was bad. And
which just goes to show what kind of a mom I am, because that's not even on my list of least favorite things.
Well, your kids were 2 and 4. Mine were 8, 6, and 4.
Yeah, it's 8. The 8
and
and 6.
my oldest, my 8-year-old, was having like panic attacks, and their dad wasn't present for 4 years. So I'm not going to use the word like. What made it tolerable the last 4 years of my marriage was that he wasn't home.
Right.
So I made all the decisions. I didn't have to ask anybody anything. That's why that wasn't on my list.
Right.
Of not having to talk to people, because I was doing it all, and now I had to talk to somebody about it. But he also just started showing up more. And I was very conflicted because I didn't want to be around him, right, because he was bad. But my kids deserve to be around him because he's their father. Right. And so I think that whole conflict about me trying to move forward and be relieved and trying to be healthy for myself while making sure that they still had their dad, like all those conflicting feelings while still trying to make a happy place for my kids, was one of the worst parts of my divorce. You are definitely struggling. Just so you know, we have done master classes about co-parenting and divorcing a difficult person and getting through it all. So we have tons of resources to help you with all of that. Mm-hmm. But for me, watching my kids be conflicted and me being paralyzed, well, I can't say anything bad about him.
Right.
And they're coming back and saying these things. And how do I handle it? How do I not say, well, he's an asshole?
Right.
Can't say that. Can't say it. And then how that feels to not be able to say it, all of that.
Yeah.
And the importance of a therapist to help me like really get through all of that, as will help you. That's probably my worst.
Okay, fair enough. I would say for me, one of the things that kind of like hit me the most in terms of how quickly the realization came was like not having your person for regular date nights, or not having your person for just all of the things that happen in your life. So, you have your kids, sometimes you want to go out, you get invited for dinners, there are events, you're going to a show, you're going to a movie, whatever it is, just not having that, your built-in date, your built-in person. That was one of the things that I felt
not having a plus one.
Not having a plus one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of my least favorite things.
Yeah.
When it came to getting divorced. But in terms of like struggling, I would say one of my least favorite things with regards to the struggle was having to kind of acknowledge the different boundaries and disciplines that went on at my apartment versus his apartment, because that actually created a lot of conflict between me and the kids, between me and him at certain times. And we just had completely different rules. The kids were able to do different things. And like, that was just a real pain in my ass for a number of years because they were so little. They grew up in this environment where wherever they were, they could do different things, and that was tough.
Right. And also, in the same vein, I feel like you also, even though the kids were young, you kind of laid down the law. And then didn't he have more of a voice after you separated, or am I wrong?
No, I think the thing is that we really were pretty much always on the same page. I mean, they were really only 2 and 4. I mean, you don't really get into discipline until the kids are more like 7, 8.
And religion and the going to Hebrew school.
Right. So all of that stuff, 2 and 4, it was like, yeah, maybe I laid down the law, but he didn't object to any of those things. It wasn't until the kids were older and wanting to do certain things or not wanting to do certain things where then I was really laying down the law.
Do you think he would have objected
to
those things if you guys were together?
I do not.
I do not either.
I do not. I think if I had stayed married, all of the things that were important to me, because he didn't, it's not that he had a conflicting point of view. For example, going to Hebrew, like it was important to me that my kids went to Hebrew school, and it was important to me that my kids had a bar and bat mitzvahs. And I know that was important to him too, but it was a pain in the butt for him to have to bring them to Hebrew school and whatever. So it wasn't that he didn't want them to go or that he wanted them to do something different. He just didn't want to have to take them and pick them up and deal with the logistics of it. So had we stayed married, I think things like that would have been a non-issue because they just would have gone. Because he just would have been on board with all of the things. And yes, I was more of a disciplinarian. So I think we would have been one of those married couples where like I would be like, these are the rules. And he'd be like, yeah. And then like I would go out with my friends and he'd be like, psst, psst, psst. You can do that. Like the old Bill Cosby thing, like Dad is great. He gives us the chocolate cake. Right. So that's what I think.
So if you guys want to hear more about Jessica and Darren, I did a tell-all interview with them on the last episode of season 3. Jess and her ex tell all. And now Darren was my best friend in high school. So there was a certain comfort level, I think, with me doing rapid fire questions to both of them, which they were not aware of ahead of time. So you're going to want to hear it.
It was a good episode. You should check it out. Yeah, it was the last week of December of 2023. So go check that out of the Divorce Etc. podcast.
My other big thing was the business of my divorce. The business of my divorce, although I don't think it would have been much different, what you should never do, and we also help you with this, is you do not just go to the first lawyer. Even if it's that person's highly recommended, that's all great.
Go and meet with them.
You go and you have a business meeting and you interview them. And what I did was my friend said, go to this person. She's a shark. I went, I spewed my business all over her desk, and it took 4 years and a gross amount of money and every expert and everything. So I had no voice actually for at least the first 2 years of my divorce. My divorce took 4 years. I think it still would have taken 4 years. But had I had ex-experts, I probably would have carved off some money. I probably would have been able to settle sooner because we both had sharks and my ex was a non-negotiator. So I just know so much more now and so much better now that I could have used a resource like ex-experts so that I would have known my rights. You would have felt
more comfortable guiding the way the process went as opposed to feeling like you had to sit back and just listen to her.
We knew nothing. Right. And my father was with me every day, and he's a securities attorney, but nobody knows about divorce.
Right.
No one knows about divorce, and it's different now, but there are long delays in the divorce courts. I mean, if you guys can come to an agreement on one thing, then that's a starting off point. So we have a ton of podcasts to help you with tips for settlement, mistakes that I've made, all of those things. So be sure to check out Divorce Etc. And you can just leave us a message or DM us here, and we can guide you to the podcast that can help you with these kinds of things. But the money, the time, the heartache, I was thrilled to be out of my marriage, but I was suffocating in that divorce business process, which was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I feel like that wasn't one of the things that I had to go through, thankfully. But one of the things that I found really hard was just like struggling alone financially. Like after my first divorce, I had a good job. I really didn't struggle financially initially with him. But after my second divorce, I was in a totally different state in my life. And I did struggle for a little while, for probably more than a little while, like probably a year, close to 2 years. And that was really hard. And like not having when you're struggling financially and you're alone, like you're alone.
Yeah.
And I think that so many people go through that because that's really like one of the scariest things when you're getting divorced. It's like the kids and the money and how are you going to manage that and how are you going to deal with it? And so that was for sure one of my least favorite things was like having to worry about the money. And even though I wasn't struggling the first time, I was struggling in the sense that I'd never really been on my own like that before and needing to be able to figure out like, what can I do? What can I not do? Having to pay all the bills myself. Like I could do it, but it was like a very scary prospect. And so that's also why one of the things we are huge advocates of is financial literacy and making sure that you know what your financial situation is. We're not going to get into all of that here and now. We have plenty of podcasts on that, but it is so important that you know what your situation is and where everything is so that you can put together a plan for yourself and moving forward.
And you can totally do it. You can totally do it.
If we can do it, you can do it. Trust us.
Right. So just reach out to us and we'll guide you on the right resources and the right podcasts and everything to listen to and some experts who may be able to help you along the way.
Yep.
Anyway, again, I'm TH.
I'm Jessica.
And we're the X Experts, and we hope that we helped you today.
See you next time.